What up, gamers? NanMan here, and we are back with some more modern action over on NanMan's Nerd Corner. How's everyone doing? I hope all of you American viewers out there enjoyed your Thanksgiving holiday. I had a ton of fun being able to spend time with my niece and nephew and eating delicious food, all that kind of good stuff there. But we've got a nice grindy matchup for you here. Esper Blink versus Izzet Prowess here. Both these decks have fluctuated, in and out of the meta, as well as in and out of popularity, and with new cards and old cards and things like that. I mean, most players have kind of pivoted away from the Esper version of Blink and have kind of locked in on the more powerful Jeskai Blink just because of ways to kind of close out the game with like Flage and things like that. And we will be doing some discussions about how the regional championship went, both in NA and Europe and Asia, and talk about some of the decks and kind of cards to keep an eye out for and decks to keep an eye out for going forward. Because I always like being able to do a little bit more of the meta snapshot things. But Dragon Rage Chandler tries to get out there, immediately met with a fatal push, and we see kind of a setup turn here for our Prowess player. And they're going to be, boom, another Dragon Rage Chandler coming right back out again. So great little setup card, trying to hit the Delirium, try to kind of push some damage. The evasion that comes once you get Delirium is really nice. Prowess is a very explosive deck. This player here went to the RC in Vegas and did play Prowess at the event there. So they, had a good time with it. There was like 3 players that play at our LGS that attended the regional championship in Vegas. So it was very cool to be able to talk to them afterward and kind of get their thoughts about how the event went, what sort of decks that they kind of felt like they had a hard time against, things like that. So it was, definitely a very cool experience to at least talk to them. Maybe one of these days we'll do the grind and try to qualify for some championship stuff. It's been a long time since we've done that kind of big grind of things. Like I definitely played a little bit of the RCQ. Like I think I did like 2 or 3 last year. Was that last year? When was it? It feels like last year with the Nadu side of things, and just kind of how long ago that was, with it just basically getting banned in every format. So but yeah, I played the Nadu deck a couple of times. Did not win any of the events, but basically broke even, and the mirror matchup was tricky to kind of navigate sometimes, and it really was a race of like, hey, can I get this off faster than you can do anything? Yes, okay, cool. So I'm glad to see it's banned. I'll probably play some Nadu shenanigans, of course, in Cube and as well as in like Canadian Highlander and stuff like that. But we do have some battles taking place still here, going on here. Bolt taking down the life total down to 17, and then here is 3 more damage coming across there. So Esper Blink player dropping to 14 life. Prowess player in a very good position of basically crafting a really powerful hand next turn. You see the Preordain, you see the Expressive Iteration. We've got a Flick Shot ready to kind of come off the gate and kind of go flying across the map there to deal as much damage as possible. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Flicker Wisp, though, going to allow a little bit of blinky action to take place and switch out that Overlord off of the impending doom. Now it will flicker back in, and we get to mill 4 cards and pick a creature. Look at all these mills. It's like, hey, here's a bunch of lands and 1 creature. Hope you're cool with that, because that's the creature you're going to get. Servandum's going to be the creature grabbed in from the graveyard here. I like running my one, as you all know. I'm a 61 card main all day, every day on a lot of my lists. I say a lot of my lists, every list that I run for Modern is 61 cards. I like having one-ofs. I like the little bit of nuance that we get to do with that being just like, yeah, here's a Servandum. I like this card. It's cool. I want to play it. So I'll run things like that. All right, Slick Shot. The plot is thickening here as Slick Shot comes off from exile, getting ready to potentially do a lot of burst damage. We'll see. Expressive Iteration. Of course, we do get our triggers to go off. Any responses? No responses. Okay, so Surveil trigger first. take a cheeky peek at the top, see if there's anything worthwhile there. That's going to get dumped in immediately to the graveyard. We don't want that. And actually, we find another one in the top hand here. So, yeah, that's perfect. Mutagenic Growth going in there is great because that does basically, we get to cast that for free. And then we've got to kind of set ourselves up with a good amount to, like, we could keep the Slick Shot alive here. All right, here's the damage coming across. It's like trading off the Dragon Rage Channeler. Pay 2 life. Triggers. Cast this Mutagenic Growth on the Dragon Rage to keep that alive. So I'm not going for like a huge explosive win here. Prowess trigger is good. So that's 5 damage total coming across off the Slick Shot. Let's see if there's anything else. Alright. Pass priority before damage. Fatal Push will be able to get utilized to push that Slick Shot off a cliff there. The Fatal Push, basically the most efficient removal spell in Modern since its release back in the day. It kind of really took over and became the thing. Followed up with the Swift Spear. I mean, we had a conversation, you know, about how players like to spice up their decks. There's so many cool secret layers that exist now, and I love seeing stuff like this where there is like, hey, here's basically a Prowess package. You know, pick this up. You get a lot of cool art for it. But let's see, what do we got? Oh, attack in for 5. There is the mill of 4 cards. Now, it doesn't just have to be from those 4. It can be from any card in your graveyard that is a non-avatar. So, sorry, Aang, you cannot be grabbed. But we do get to see Solitude get grabbed for that pile there, so that'll help out at least a little bit more protection. Ooh, okay. Quantum Riddler here. Let's warp this in, allow us to draw a card. So we've got... Okay, we are going for the Ephemerate. Let's blink this friend out of existence. Comes back. Draw another card. And a 4/6 is no joke. I mean, you really have to, like, 2 for 1 to get it, or have an Unholy Heat ready to go. Which I don't know if the Prowess player is running any main board. In my list, I have 2 in the sideboard. All right, fetching down to 5. Can I get the basic mountain here? Still very close. Like, that's the thing about the Prowess deck is, like, you might think that you're safe, and like it does look advantage meter wise that it's more in the Esper player's favor, but it's also just like, okay, the explosiveness, and if you mess up your sequencing against the deck, they could just kill you out of nowhere. Actually, putting both on the bottom, we don't care about the mutagenic here, and draw another bolt. That's actually pretty nice. So we could push for damage if we wanted to, and still have, you know, 6 extra damage. A lot of prowess building up here. A lot of triggers off this. Preordained, gonna look, see anything worthwhile. You see the steel cutters getting chucked into the graveyard here. Like, we're not going to be using those to help us out. Oh, the Violent Urge. Okay. This could be a little bit of double strikey. Let's see how this works out. I mean, that's a pretty good... Let's see. A bolt comes across. 3 more damage. Swift Spear triggers would be 4. Double strike is 8. I mean, that's Xaxes, right? If a bolt hits face. Let's see. Combat. Ooh, but we saw the Solitude, so we can't necessarily go all in here, because we know that we would just get blown out if we tried it. Because we have the assumption that there's got to be another white card to pitch. Otherwise, you know, they drew 2 extra cards, like the Esper Blink player did. So we can't just be like, yep, let's go. So we see this play here. It looks like there's the debate about whether or not to do a bolt here before damage to try to push for a little bit more damage. But no, I like that. Like, play it safe. Let's chip away what we can. Currently, they're not going for any Solitude plays. So there's the bolt. Clear up the Riddler. Still a big chunk, but now there's 5 damage ready to come across. We're going to keep the Ephemerate in exile here. Servandum, Vigilance, Menace. Whenever another creature you control dies or is put into exile, put a +1 counter on Servandum, and then you gain a life. So part of the reason we have Servandum in there is because we're on the Catch-Most package, where most people aren't. Also, it's got this added bonus if Servandum dies or is put into exile, and it's got at least 4 power, you get to destroy target non-land permanent. All right, let's grab another Solitude, and that'll be enough. Clear it up. Tied. It's sitting here 1-0 in Esper Blink's favor. Going to be going into sideboard mode here. Let's see what we can find.
Gameplay to let you know about our new affiliate with NerdGear. nerdgear.gg/nanman will take you directly to the website, and as you can see, they've got a bunch of awesome gaming accessories, from playmats, life counters with the life tracks, playmat holders, and more. So make sure you do some browsing on the site, find some goodies, and then use the code NGNanman for 5% off your entire order. But let's get back to our gameplay.
All right, and if you're watching this on December 1st, it is the last day of our, Black Friday super sale going on at Nerd Gear, where there's 25 to 50% off certain items, like the Commander Essential Kit is 25% off. The Playmat Sanctuary is 25% off. You still get the option of buy 2, get 1 free for the Rock Guard premium sleeves. The Life Tracks counter is 50% off. So a lot of good options available for players to consider and pick up there. So if you're looking for new sleeves, things like that, a little Commander bundle for your friends might be worth checking out. But all right, what do we got to go with here? Dragon Rage to start things off. It's great if you can land a Dragon Rage on turn 1 or 2, because the filtering of your draws is so important in Magic in general, but especially in a 60-card format where you're like, okay, I need a little bit more redundancy. I need to make sure that I'm setting myself up for success, and one of the ways to do that is through that Delirium and Surveilling to kind of set yourself up. Right now, no Delirium with just 2 lands sitting in the graveyard. All right, so what decks are you all playing right now? Have you guys switched it up? Picked anything new up? Have you updated any lists with some cool Avatar The Last Airbender cards? I picked up 2 Force Negations with that awesome Aang versus Firelord art for like my shop's Black Friday sale. I like the art so much on that. I don't know. I saw that and was like, oh, I have to have that. That's so good looking. A little bit of poking here. Dragon Ray Chandler coming across for 1. We get some Surveil going on. All right. Just sort of a nice little setup here. Oil Slick Swamp into a Frog. Now the question is, how there's this weird moment with the Frog where you stare it down, you're like, that can just win the game by itself. How much? Oh, but there's bolts here. It's also like, how much could you force them to pitch to it? If you got 2 bolts, would they pitch their whole hand? I mean, if they do, and then you have nothing else to follow it up, then you're kind of screwed. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 cards in there, so they could just easily pitch their whole hand and go, well, I'll just sit here and draw myself back up off this frog and just hope that it's enough that with 6 counters on it and 8 toughness, it gets through everything. Even if you're trying to, you know, drop down and do an unholy heat later on, you won't be able to. So. But neither of that is really the case at the moment, as we still are surveilling and building up our delirium count right now. We've got 2 permanents, or 2 card types specifically in the graveyard there. 1 Dragon Rage Channeler and 3 lands. But yeah, you see the Bolt debate. It's like, it's very tempting. Very tempting here. But the pass, not going to commit to any damage at the moment. We've still got the option to bolt and do some surveilling and trying to turn this into a 3/3. Ooh, still 6 cards in hand. Bring the frog. All right, 1 little damage. Poking. Oh, I was like, what card is that again? Oh, Mishra's Bauble. Well, that'll help us get to Delirium very quickly here. A Slick Shot coming off. No more plotting. There is the Mishra's Bauble. So we've got triggers. Do we got Delirium coming up here? Ooh, get a Swift Spear in the graveyard. So we've only got creatures and land at the moment. About to have an artifact, and then easily get a instant in there. Let's Bauble, take a cheeky peek. All right, 3 flying damage coming across right now. No blocks, no effects. Chunk for 3. And that's the thing about it, right? It's like, yes, you could just go ham with the deck and be like super explosive, or you could just be like, yeah, no, here's just 3 damage. Felia going to come out on the end step here. That's more likely than not going to be bolted out of there, gotten rid of. We like the delay in the wait here, because this is also a little bit telling of like, okay, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to flicker here? Like, are you trying to cast an Overlord? Are you doing a Riddler stuff? What are you doing? All right, we see the debate about mana. Riddler is going to be the choice here. So we get to draw a card off Riddler. And looks like we're trying to use Felia to keep Riddler around here. Which we know that the Prowess players already got Bolt in hand, so that's not going to work. Bolt the doggo in response. We've got a Surveil, trigger, keep it on top. Delirium is activated now. There's another dog, though, in hand. Send the frog. And Delirium is there. Do we block? Nope. Just take 1, draw a card. Oh, okay. Corey Steelcutter. So this is something we didn't get to see in, you know, game number one here. We were basically going all in on our pure strategy. Now we're on the go wide strategy. We're going to try to rely on, you know, creating a bunch of monks to sit here and go wide and just sort of take over the game and just do this sort of like, I'm going to send too many creatures for you to deal with that all have prowess. So if you block wrong, then I still get to pierce you, but I'm just going for the numbers game here. So we do see Push going to come out and respond to the slick shot coming across. Anything else? Any more responses? Looks like currently a 2-2 and a 3-3 coming across. Ooh, okay. There's another bolt. Pushing for more damage here. Keeping that on top. So 7 and 6 damage coming. That is going to force a response. Solitude, pitching Ophelia, going to get rid of the Dragon Rage Channeler here, actually. We got rid of 2 scary things. Still going to take 3, go to 4. All right, no other effects. Go to 4. And the check, how many lightning bolts are in the graveyard? There are currently 3. So the kind of going, well, okay, there's 3. Do the math here. There's, you know, 1 more bolt left available. The likelihood that you have in your hand currently, not likely. Yes, you have expressive iterations. Yes, you have ways to kind of dig and find it. You know, we're going to hope that we don't let you find it, but we still need to fetch and basically do a little bit more fixing here, a little bit more access to white. Now we've got double white, triple blue, double black available for the Esper player. Still missing the 5th land. So you see the Riddler is still sitting over there waiting to get warped in, but not currently... Not currently here. So the debate here is push for damage with the frog. And then draw a card. Try to get that 5th land. Go for the relic here. Also try to get a land. This also protects against like the lava dart flashbacks and stuff. But we're going to pop it immediately, it looks like. So it's like, oh, wait, we got to make sure that we tap the correct... if we're going to pop it, we got to make sure we actually pay the mana for it. And that is going to exile all graveyards here. Not just target. Exile all cards in all graveyards. So you see Riddler still set aside because that is not in the graveyard. It's in the warp zone, ready to come back at a later state. But... so no other land? Did we not get the 5th land? All right, so it looks like Servanum going to come out here going for... basically a wall of creatures to try to help us out and passing, because it could be another like go wide strategy here. So having more creatures out to just get in the way and get on the ground is going to be really useful and really important. Let's see, 2 cards in hand. We know one's a surgical. Bobble, that's nice. Trigger. Let's take a look, see what it is. Oop, slid off of the other card. We didn't see it. Cheating. I wonder what happens if that happens. Like if you were revealing a card off Bobble and it slipped and you got to see it. What would happen? What would the judges do in that case? Anybody know? All right, still at 3, though, so this is a very tough spot to be in. But the passing of the turn, let's draw a card, keeping our friend here. Can we afford to... Oh, okay. Ketramos. I was like, can we afford to attack? Technically, we should be attacking with Servandum here, because it does have Vigilance and Menace, so it's guaranteed damage. All right, so there's the confirmation of, okay, whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your graveyard and or battlefield during your turn, you draw a card and you lose a life. Otherwise, Menace, Lifelink, Indestructible. It's very scary. Most players have preferred to peel off the card. I just like it. It's a cool card. Also, the art for it's sweet. All right, looks like Preordained going to get used. Let's do some setups. Scrying and Drawn. Scry 2 specifically. We play one more spell this turn. We get to trigger our Steel Cutter. All right, what do we got? Is that a Swift Spear? Oh, Lava Dart here. Deal 1 damage. Drop you to 2. Make another monk. We can't attack with the monk, though, because that'll just force a lifelink. So, passing turn. Alright. We have responses on the upkeep. We're going to sack this mountain to try to Lava Dart, which... The way that this is setting up is specifically to try to trigger Ketramos and forcing Ketramos to have you lose a life and draw a card. Now, there is a thing that we have learned, and part of the reason why I wanted to make sure that we included this video this week is because Flashback doesn't work that way. Flashback says you may cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost and exile. So you, whatever the cost, in this case, sack a mountain, Lava Dart goes on the stack. You can respond. Awesome. No responses. Cool. Spell resolved. It immediately goes into exile. It doesn't go from the graveyard to exile like we saw there, or what most people assume. Hey, I'm doing this, like I'm casting it from my graveyard, and then it goes to exile. That's so. Ketramos doesn't actually trigger off of flashback cards. So the more we know, you're learning. At least that is my understanding of it, because of the way that Ketramos work, or because the way flashbacks work, is they're not actually leaving the graveyard to go to exile, right? Because let me double check if I'm understanding this right. Ketramos reads as whenever one or more cards are put into exile from graveyards and or the battlefield during your turn. Oh no, it still works, right? No, because it's not on the battlefield. It's on the stack. So whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your graveyard, so it's not going from your graveyard to exile with flashback. It goes from your graveyard to the stack and then immediately into exile. So it doesn't actually trigger Ketramos there. But that's okay. We're all tied up 1-1 here. This was part of the reason that we are doing these recordings and showing off and putting the videos up here, is so you all can be able to learn these moments just like I did. Because, you know, in the moment, it's like, oh, yeah, that makes total sense why that would work that way. Of, yes, you're casting it. It goes into exile after you've cast it. But it just goes from the stack into exile. It doesn't go from the graveyard into exile like what would normally trigger Ketramos. All right, so let's see how things are going to work out here with all tied up 1-1 in game number 3 here between these players. Oh, another Frog. Frog not really able to take over the game last time, but definitely adds a kind of this threatening presence to the game, and if left unchecked, could easily take over the game. All right, Surveil Land going to get fetched up here. What is that card? Oh, a Duel Master cards. Our shopkeep came over and says, Merry Christmas. Here you go. I have a Duel Master card. Perks of going and hanging out your LGS. You might just get random gifts and rewards for just being there. That happens sometimes where you're like, sometimes you're, or at least with at our LGS specifically, you know, our shop owner will like be like, hey, I've got these extra dice, like these little promo cards or these things. Just start give them out randomly. All right, Corey Steelcutter, getting that out early is tough too, because that's going to be like a easy way to run away with the game here. So, is there a bobble or something to trigger it now, or are we basically taking a turn off? Bobble. Oh, surgical. Oh, and getting rid of the marsh flats here. Which makes a lot of sense if you're like, okay, what are we fighting against? Makes sense to grab one of these fetch lands. More likely than not, you have a lot in there. But being a 3-color deck, there might not be as many. But really wanting to get the prowess trigger going here makes a lot of sense. And now we get to see the hand. Double Felia Dogs, Orum's Chant, Ephemerate, and Overlord, and Shadowy Backstreet here. Ooh. Oh no, one Felia. The other Felia was in the deck. That makes sense. Now we get to see a glimpse through what are the cards. All right, and only 2 copies of Marsh Flats. It's deck thinning, he says. Okay, Overlord going to be impending. All right, so it's kind of just like stalematey at the moment, where both players are just sort of like staring each other down as they build up and get themselves set up. Oh, I was like, do we miss it? No, okay, there you go. Pass and turn, the down ticking of the impending stuff. Expressive Iteration triggers, of course. Do we get a second spell here? Looks like we needed a land, though. Oh, there was 2 lands. Okay, that works. Guaranteed got our land that we needed. So now we can drop that down. Looking for a second spell. Murktide was picked up. All right, fetching. Are we going for the Unholy Heat that's in hand? Clean up the frog and just not have to worry about it, and then push good amount of damage across? I mean, what would that be? 4 damage? That's pretty good. Or do we just go a setup turn and Dragon Rage Channeler? Still counts as a second spell. All right, triggers. All right. Not pushing for damage, though. Okay. The wall of creatures is increasing for the Prowess player, so now it's up to the Esper Blink player to kind of find a way to deal with this. We know they've got a Felia that we saw earlier. And there are 5 cards in hand. Ooh, Witch Enchanter Hardcast. Destroy the Steel Cutter before it gets to be too overwhelming. That's actually huge. And keeping the frog back, there's plenty of cards that you can get rid of from the graveyard here to give it flying if you need to. But it's sort of this like, okay, it looks like we're going to go, this is going to be a long game between both players. And it is going to be very much determined by the decision makings between both, what sort of lines that they can try to navigate their way toward. Expressive is a great way for that because we've immediately delirium or surveil that land off the top to the graveyard there. And what do we got? A Swift Spear. That'll come out. And going to do a little bit of shocking down to 12. What else we got here? There's the Unholy Heat. Okay, we're clearing the path. Let's do it. Now we can push for some damage here. We've found the hits that we needed to now. And getting another land out of the way. Awesome. All right, let's see. Big push here. Sending the team across. Of course, both those monks have +2 power, so they're 3/3s. Of course, Dragon Rage Chandler is also a 3/3 with flying. So 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 damage coming across right now, dropping the Esper Blink player to, 5. Oh, that's huge. Okay. I mean, that's dangerously low. Do some blocking on one of the monks. And take 8. Go to 8. Ooh. All right. Prowess disappears. Damage marked on it. Killing off. Goodbye, monk friend. How do we... Oh yeah, that's true. Orm Channel's like effects on upkeep. What's that? Oh yeah. Response, bolt, and trigger. Though dropping down to 5. Another land binned off of that. Drawing another land return. Ooh, the Prowess deck is not happy right now with the amount of lands, but Felia coming on the end step. All right, it's like, can we afford to wait 2 turns? I don't know. There's the Flicker Wisp. Could play Flicker Wisp and flicker the Overlord. Attack with the dog if he wanted to, and flicker the Flicker Wisp, but that's like, I don't know. Doesn't really necessarily help us here to do that. I mean, Felia can get rid of the monk token, though. Looks like, yeah, we're going to get rid of that. Okay. Do some blocking. Dragon Rage Channel will eat that. Basically, we're just looking to do some flickering of that. Okay, that makes sense. Rearrange the lands correctly. Main phase 2. There's the Flicker Wisp. And blink out the monk token. Oh! End step. Overlord comes back. What goodies can we get? 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can grab from our entire graveyard. But you see the Solitude, that more likely than not is going to be grabbed. Yeah, Solitude's going to get grabbed there. So again, that's this sort of like safety valve that the Blink decks have access to, of just being like, oh, you're trying to kill me with this one thing? You don't get that one thing anymore. All right, still a lot of resources available for our Prowess player. And double Dragon Rage Channeler. Bobble triggers. First one. Let's keep it. Bobble. Let's take a look. Doesn't fall off this time. All right, a 2/3 and a 3/3. Do some blocking here. Try to trade off. Do we have a mutagenic? No mutagenic. Both those get eaten, trading off the Flicker Wisp. But clearing out the flyer is basically the great thing for the Prowess player because they've got a Murktide they're trying to bring out. And there it is. This whole time building up and setting themselves up. Of course, the Murktides are a nice little sideboard option that some of the Prowess players are running, where you might run like a 2 of in your board because you're like, yeah, we're playing grindiness and the game's going long. I need a kind of top end. If you run out of resources against your opponents and they've spent a lot of their resources, you drop something down to kind of close out and finish out the game. It's that finisher that you need. All right, let's see. That's a big dragon. So we swing in. If we swung in with Overlord, it immediately dies. All right, trigger. Oh, there's a Vindicate. Oh, Felia. All right. Again, you got to look through your entire graveyard. Grab any non-avatar creature. And Flicker Wisp is going to get chosen here. Solitude. Pitching that. Get this out of existence. Gaining 7, and then going to try to ephemerate it to get rid of the Dragon Rage. That's going to get met with the Bolt, so trigger off of the Surveil. 1 card left in hand for the Prowess player. Stay on top. Bolt's going to try to blast the Solitude. Any response? All right, no responses. Fizzles. Ephemerate, of course, fizzles there. 5 damage still hits, but the Blink player is down to 5 life. So it's basically that Bolt that we had to use against the Solitude now is like, oh, we wish we had that. We could just like finish things off, but do we got Delirium? Doesn't matter because Push is going to come and deal with it. I'm assuming, yes, we do have Delirium based on how long this game's been going on. And with the Murktide cast, they would have been a very important thing to keep the Delirium available there. The discussion is, I feel like we've been on turns for like 9 minutes. Close, almost. And another Solitude brought back. Ooh. All right, Frog going to get deployed here just in case there is like a Slick Shot show off. This, that's the other thing. It's like trying to make sure we had a blocker and that. Oh, Spell Snare coming in clutch. Going to say, no, you may not get that. No Slick Shot, though. Another land. Oh, my gosh. That's, what do we got here? 2, 4, 6 lands on the battlefield, and how many more got surveilled into the graveyard? So many there. All right, what do we get back? Get the Frog back here again. Could have gone for the Flicker Wisp, but land. Another Frog. I was like, what can they have? Oh, Steel Cutter. All right, do we have enough to make... Oh, gosh, let's see. Steel Cutter down to 4. And what's the last card? Unholy Heat, the Frog, Trigger. All right, we have a blocker. And the push. And that is it. Hands extended. Oh, such a close match there. Grindy, grindy, grindy. Yeah, life total is 5-4 at the end there. So there definitely was those like moments we talked about of you're looking for very specific lines and how you're going to be able to navigate them to get the best outcome, and how you need to like set yourself up to not be able to like set yourself up to be 2-for-1ing your opponent or get 2-for-1 by your opponents. And there's a lot of these nuances where it's like, oh no, but I have to prioritize killing this over that, and it's like it gets to be very tricky of a matchup there. But now we get to see a bit of the sideboard options for these players here. Well, at least the Blink players got that revealed. We get to sort of get a glimpse of the Prowess player, what they're grabbing here. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so like into the Flood Maul, spell snares, things like that to be able to be brought in here. So, yep, that's going to do it for us here today. Long one. We've had some very fast-paced ones recently, so I wanted to do a nice long one for you guys as we get into it and getting closer and closer to the holidays and the end of 2025. Of course, we are building ourselves closer to the end of the year, and apparently there's new features on YouTube with like hyping up videos and stuff. So if you like this stuff, consider subscribing, following, hyping up videos, all that good stuff. That's going to do it for us here today. Thanks so much for tuning and watching, y'all, and I'll see you all next game.